Tonight on PM Express, is the judiciary under attack? Well, the Attorney General and the President believe yes, the judiciary is under attack. And it follows indeed from some political comments that have been made, mainly from the camp of the National Democratic Congress. The former President John Dramani Mahama had said this recently when he met with the party's lawyers at a conference. Indeed, the former president made the point that it will take a new Chief Justice to repair the broken image of the judiciary. So as far as he's concerned, the image of the judiciary is broken. And the current leadership of the judiciary, he also maintained in this meeting when he spoke to the lawyers of the NDC, lacks what it takes to redeem its sunken image. Again, he believes the judiciary has a sunken image right now. And then he goes on to make the point that politics and inducements are being used to sway the hand of justice in the lower courts, and that people are poking fun and making statements about 7-0 unanimous FC in reference to the Supreme Court's verdicts in many of the issues that they raised before the Supreme Court on the back of the 2020 elections, and of course the eventual outcome indeed. We saw a pretty scathing rebuke of the former president from the Attorney General yesterday at the bar conference. And Godfrey Ibadame did not mince words at all. It says the former president had built a reputation and is deploying a clear, deliberate strategy to undermine the judiciary, described Mahama's attitude as deplorable and unbecoming of a former head of state, and that all that he's doing is based on, it's not based on the factual basis, indeed, from what happened before the Supreme Court. The president himself was also at this function and backed the position of his attorney general. He was clear to quote, "Those who criticize the Supreme Court are the plaintiffs who submit the skimpiest of evidence and still expect to win cases." For him, this is about going to the court with evidence and not propaganda. The president was clear about that. The president was asserting that it is no wonder that the NDC claims were unanimously dismissed. This is at the Supreme Court when the matter came before the court with the NDC attempting to challenge the 2020 election outcome. Now, since the pronouncement by Godfrey Ibadame, the Attorney General, the NDC has been left pretty furious by those rebuttals that we got from Ibadame, and they issued their own rebuttals to counter this. And as far as Mahama, the former president himself, was the first to go out there and say that he wouldn't let the Attorney General take that right away from him. And that if I see something going wrong, I will point it out, he says. And so for him, what he was asserting something that he believes was going wrong. Now, the question that we need to ask, and we'll ask the NDC, is what really is the evidential basis of this criticism? Well, is it a criticism? Because some say we need to draw the line between criticizing the judiciary and attacking it unjustifiably. And so what is happening here? Is that a critique? What Attorney General believes is not. It's something more sinister, directed at, undermine the judiciary. It is my duty to do so, the former president says. The NDC issued a statement on this, very forcefully making the point that Attorney General's pronouncements were in bad taste. Now, the former Attorney General, who also was a leader of the bar, also had this to say about, the Attorney General's reaction, the current Attorney General's reaction. This is Marita Bruya-Pelpon, who served under John Mahama as Attorney General, and she said, "I'm sitting right here in Ho, and Ho, by the way, is where the conference was happening, the bar conference." He says he's childish, immature, and unprofessional. Unfortunately, after 2 years, he's still clueless about the role of Attorney General. And this was a post that he put up in response to a main post referencing what the Attorney General had said. And then, of course, the party's communications officer also raised his own objections about what the Attorney General had said. But the reason we're having this has been coming. Of course, it got to a head, and the occasion, the platform, amplified it a bit because the president spoke, the Attorney General spoke, But if you listen to the judges themselves, they were concerned, particularly Jones Doche, who is a senior judge on the Supreme Court, was clear that these political attacks, on the judiciary, and he's a member of the bench, who create the atmosphere to legitimize attacks on them, that could lead to what happened in 1982. And that reference is a reference to a time when judges were rounded up and killed. So he was actually referencing a possible assassination, people feeding off the comments that politicians are making now, about judges and the bench and the Supreme Court and the judiciary, fueling some of these attacks, and that could take us back to 1982. Those were really chilling, I guess, pronouncements by a sitting judge, and maybe that's a window into how the judges themselves are feeling about it. So let's have this big conversation, because this is the judiciary. It's a last line of defense as a country. I'm not sure the judges say do not criticize them, but they're saying, well, in doing so, make sure you don't cross into undermining, this very important institution of a democracy. So my guests are joining me, from both political parties, and then we'll hear from the bar itself. Stay with me. In the studio with me is the Director of Legal for the National Democratic Congress, the main opposition party. He is Abraham Amaliba, and he joins me in the studio right now. Thank you, Abraham. Also joining me on the phone is Frank Davis. He's the chairman of the Legal Constitutional Committee of the New Patriotic Party. He joins us on the phone, and I'm delighted that we can also speak tonight to Xavier Kuji, who is a public relations officer of the Ghana Bar Association. He also joins us via Zoom, as you can see. Xavier, I'm grateful for your time. Frank also. Abraham, let me start with you. So the comments by Godfrey Dame and the president yesterday, I know you've issued a statement today, the former president has spoken about it, many in your party have spoken about it, but really, he was defending the judiciary. Isn't that what any citizen should do?
Okay, so let me start by saying good evening to your viewers. I want to start by saying that the question you pose, in my view, is a wrong question. Judiciary under attack, for me, is a wrong question. Because in these discussions, nobody has attacked the judiciary. And so for you to now posit that judiciary under attack, for me, is misplaced.
How can you even say a question is wrong? It's a question.
No, it's wrong, because where is this question emanating from? Because it is in a certain context. The context are the former president spoke at a NDC function. Then there's Godfrey Dame speaking. Then the president speaking. In all this, where was the judiciary attacked? Okay,
so that's your view, but it remains a question. And so, yes. Question that has been asked by many. In fact, you hear the former president in that meeting with you question in fact, he actually says that the judiciary has become partisan. The president is packing the bench. That is attack, is it not? Many look at that and say that is a clear attack on the judiciary. You don't think so?
That is an attack on the president's powers of appointment. He's questioning the use of the president's powers to appoint people to the bench when the president knows that these people belong to his camp. So he's attacking the president's, should I say, discretion. And so,
but it doesn't end.
So in short, you could say that he was questioning the weaponization of the president's power to appoint.
But he doesn't end there, right? Because he goes ahead to talk about the judges themselves becoming partisan, judges themselves delivering what he says unanimous FC. This is the former president making playing to the gallery and actually referring to what others are saying and saying the image they have a sunken image.
I'm happy you are saying that the president was making reference to the unanimous 7 coming from Ghanaians, and not that he said they are unanimous 7. What the president said was, and that was an observation, and I'm surprised that you are now taking an observation to mean an attack. The president said that in recent times, the statement or the call, go to court, is always met with some laughter and mockery. Then he went further to place the entire the comment within the context of the CDD report, which says that public confidence in the judiciary has waned. Mm-hmm. And so, as a result of that, he thinks that there's a need for judicial reforms. This is an observation he has made. The president did not just go his way to say, hey, the judiciary, you are unanimous 7. The judiciary, you are doing something which is wrong. He says that here we are. When you are told to go to court, this is what the public perception about that statement is that people have lost confidence. And this is backed by the CDD report. And so, how would you now come to a conclusion that the president, having made these observations, is attacking the judiciary? I thought that what the Attorney General should be doing was rather to be interested in these reports that are putting the judiciary in bad light and to see how this can be addressed. But you don't attack the person who is drawing your attention to something which is going wrong. You don't do that.
Yeah, but the former president, you say he was drawing attention, but he comes to conclusions of his own based on these, what you call, observations. One of the conclusions he came to is that the judiciary's image has a sunken image. It's deteriorated. Those are words that he used. He then questions if this current leadership of the judiciary can even fix it, right? That is calling and undermining the authority of the current individuals who occupy the bench at the highest level. And that, the Attorney General says, is undermining the authority. So he mixed up those points.
So let's break what you have said into two. The first part is, he says that the image of the judiciary has gotten to a low, or it has sunk. That is what the CDD report says, actually. The CDD report says that the image of the judiciary has sunk.
No, the CDD report didn't say that. The CDD report talks about measures people's trust, right, in the institutions. The judiciary was in the top 4 in terms of institutions that, in fact, let me be very specific for the avoidance of doubt. The CDD report talks about institutions where bribery, first of all, that was the first one that came that was controversial, that the judges were in the bracket of those who were seen as highest takers of the quantum of bribes. For example, 1,200 was what was mentioned in terms of when they're giving bribes. And the judiciary was put there as one of those, that researchers found. And this was also corroborated by the Statistical Service report, also into the institutions. Right? So I'm just making this just to put it in the right context.
The right context is that the summary of all what you have said is encapsulated into what the report said, that citizens' trust in the judiciary has declined. That's all.
Yes.
All this,
now you're
all what you are saying.
Yeah.
And so, if the former president, then re-echoes that and uses similar words, that's an observation that is borne out from the report. And I'm saying that if we were in some jurisdictions where the institution is interested in, purging itself, or we are in some jurisdictions where the Attorney General was interested in the efficient and effective function of the judiciary. I've used 2 words, where the Attorney General is interested in the effective and efficient working of the judiciary. The Attorney General would have been more concerned about such a report, and not the one who is echoing it. That's where I have a problem with the Attorney General.
Stay with me. Let me bring in Frank Davis, who chairs the Legal and Constitutional Committee of the New Patriotic Report. Mr. Davis, so Abraham Maleba, your colleague, says, well, the former president was simply re-echoing what the CDD report, what the Statistical Service report had all highlighted, and that he was simply drawing attention to scientific surveys that had been done, and that it doesn't amount to an attack or a deliberate ploy to undermine the judiciary. Do you take that?
First of all, good evening to your listeners and viewers. Unfortunately, I couldn't join by Zoom, so I'll try to speak on the phone. Greetings to my friend Amaliba. I haven't seen him in a long while.
Yeah,
I thought at least he would be at the conference, the opening ceremony. Conspicuously absent. So,
you guys have hijacked the conference.
I think we're all fine. Initially we are having serious challenges. My friend Amaliba wants to set his own question and answer. He tells you that what you have put up for discussion from the get-go is wrong. The judiciary and the tax will be something else. Maybe that is the way he sees it. But I think this matter has been recurring. I have spoken on this matter so many times, and it's just about time as lawyers we try to bring a definite conclusion to all these aspersions and whatever which are cast on the judiciary. And I think as lawyers, we should first of all be concerned as lawyers to what happens to the judiciary. No matter what our political inclinations are, I think we should be very, very concerned about what happens to the judiciary. Because at the end of the day, when we leave politics, it's a long course we come to. I've seen many of our colleagues who went to mainstream politics. After that, they have joined us at the bar. And they are going to court. So if we run down the judiciary, if as lawyers, we don't wake up and back the judiciary, when we leave our political endeavors, where will we go? To the market? Of course, we all listen to former President Mahama. I listened to him carefully yesterday too. He was on a program on TV3. I listened to him from 10 midnight, from 10 o'clock, and I heard exactly what he said. I'm surprised that my learned friend, Abraham, doesn't see anything wrong with what has gone on. Because even what the CDD said, he's gotten wrong. And with the greatest of respect to him, I want us to discuss this thing dispassionately. Even what the CDD came out with, he got it wrong. You have to correct him. The deductions and the conclusions Mr. John Mahama, the former president, made on the CDD report was exactly not the case. It was incidents of bribery and corruption. But not that confidence in the judiciary was at an all-time low. That was his language, not the CDD's language. That was former President Mahama's language. And how did he arrive at that conclusion? Just because we went to court and their case didn't find favor with the judges? Now, this rendition of unanimous FC, it was lawyers in the NDC who started this unanimous FC. And Abraham knows it. It was lawyers in the NDC, with the greater respect, my friend. We are all lawyers. Amaliba is not my enemy. We are political opponents, but he's my very, very good friend. Unless you want to deny that on radio. He's my very good friend on TV. And I have discussions with him always. That we should all try to preserve the judiciary, because that is where we will go. This systematic, service of calumny and the attempt to bring the judiciary down. I have great respect for President Mahama, former President Mahama. He's been leader of this country before. He's been our head of state. He's been our president. So we have to accord him all the respect that he deserves. I have never spoken ill about him, even though sometimes I criticize what he does. But I can't stoop that low to speak ill about him. I don't think that it is fair for a former president who has also superintended over the judiciary in this country to be making the comments he made. Is Mr. President Mahama trying to suggest that at the time that he was president, there were no unanimous decisions in the Supreme Court? That at the time that he was president, there were no unanimous decisions in the Supreme Court. So at the time that the unanimous decisions were being handed in this time, there was something wrong with the judiciary. That this attempt to also say that the Chief Justice of the Republic now cannot be the person to be seen to refine the judiciary. What does Amaliba say to that?
Yeah, I mean...
Or that one too didn't come from the former president.
Yeah.
He said, Justice Kwesi Enin-Yeboah, our current Chief Justice, is not the one competent enough to salvage the image of the judiciary. That is not an attack. Of course, Enin-Yeboah is the front of he's the head of the judiciary. So if the former president is saying that he cannot clean up the image, what is that supposed to mean? Is it not an attack on the judiciary?
Yeah, I mean, Frank, talking about the concerns that the former president had highlighted in your own party. In fact, it was the National Security Minister who publicly stirred controversy when he admonished, the judges at a function that if it is perceived that all the cases are being won by the MPP, that could create a perception and a trust challenge and a trust deficit, perception among the public for the judiciary. I mean, he seemed to appreciate that what may be happening may be perceived or not real, but he raised those same concerns from their own party.
Evans, you spoke on this matter yesterday. I heard you on it. Evans, I didn't want to go back to Kandapa, with all due respect. I see him as an uncle. And he's actually led a very distinguished life as a minister. And this is not about the time to run him down or say something against him. I have spoken on this matter. I didn't think you had to bring it up.
I mean, I'm just saying because...
When he spoke, he's a very senior member of our party, the Minister for National Security. When he spoke, some of us also spoke. I totally disagreed with what he said. I totally disagreed with what he said. And he came out to say that he was taken out of context. I think you interviewed him. And he said he had been taken completely out of context. So I really don't want us to go
What the suggestion is that John Mahama is just re-echoing those sentiments.
No, but even that, some of us criticize that statement. Members of his own party. I am also a senior member of the party. In all humility, with all due respect, I am the chairman of the Legal and Constitutional Committee. So what he said directly affected me. I spoke about it. I mean, if cases are taken to court and they are not good enough and the judges render or hand out judgment, who are we to question? If you have a problem with it, you follow the steps. We don't share justice in court. We don't share justice in court that Kofi take 3 and Amma take 4. No. If your case is bad, it's bad. It's as simple as that. I mean, so some of us totally disagreed with what he said, even though he said he had been taken out of context. So don't let us bring it. Let's move on to what we are discussing. What President Mahama said is not re-echoing what Kandapa said. Kandapa did not render the judiciary in the way President Mahama did. His language was clear and succinct.
Stay with me, Frank.
His confidence in the judiciary has gotten to an all-time low. Where did he get that from? Because he took an election petition to court and he lost it.
Yeah, we'll come to that basis shortly that Godfrey Dame actually challenges to. But I want to bring in Xavier. He speaks for the bar. I mean, Xavier, part of this conversation is drawing the line between genuine constructive criticism and what has been perceived as attacking and undermining the judiciary. From where the bar stands, and it has been said that the bar is the unofficial mouthpiece of the judiciary, where do you draw this line from what is happening? I mean, you heard Amaliba. They say, well, what we are doing is constructive criticism and drawing your attention. We are not undermining the judiciary and attacking. Well, where do you draw the line at the bar? Hello, Xavier. Okay, we may have a challenge with this Zoom connection there. But Amaliba, whilst we fix that and get Xavier in, Frank raises an important point, is it not? That at the heart of this conversation is ensuring that this institution that I'm told is back. Hello, Xavier. Hello, Xavier.
Evans.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Where do you draw the line between constructive criticism and undermining the judiciary?
Well, Evan, good evening to your listeners, and thank you for the opportunity. Evans, let me begin by saying that, just as my senior Frank David has said, I am not sure Mr. Maliba is saying the right content of the TDD report. I remember you interviewed me on this same program, and the issue was about corruption in the judiciary. There was nothing about the stinking image of the judiciary. But back to your question. It will be difficult to draw such a line. But if Mr. Amaliba, who is a good friend and also a lawyer, is even saying that the former president was just re-echoing what the public view was, I don't think that the way he went about it was the best. If it was really a concern to him, for me, he should have done at least one thing by formally complaining to a body such as the Judicial Council, or at least to the Ghana Bar Association, that this is my observation as far as the performance of the judiciary is concerned. If no steps are taken to resolve or at least address his concerns, then he could go the way he did. I say this because these are men of great stature we all look up to. He's been a president of this country before. He's appointed judges. He's aspiring to be a president of this country if he's given the nod as a flag bearer of his party, and he, God willing, on his side, he happens to win, will be president again. And he's likely to appoint judges again. Would he say that the appointments that he would make, he will be telling those people to go and do some political bidding? I am not sure. And I know in the past he had done appointments. Is this suggesting that the appointment that he made, he gave clear instructions that they should go and do political biddings? I am not sure. I will just say that we should try and protect our democratic institutions. Because if comments like this are coming from a man of such stature, it's worrying. That is the way I will say. Because if he really wants to do criticism of proceedings in court regarding particularly cases that he's not happy with, he can instruct people like Mr. Maliba to do what we call a critique in what we call the review of Ghana law, whereby lawyers, including Mr. Maliba, that he would engage, will now do analysis of a particular case that he's not happy with, go into history and look at all the authorities along the line of that case, and with their understanding and the knowledge of the law, would come to a conclusion that the court should have given the decision otherwise. That is what I think we should be doing. And by doing that, we'll be developing the law, and developing the law means we'll be strengthening the judiciary.
I mean, Mr. Baliba, what do you say to that?
A number of things. We either behave like the ostrich, bury our heads in the sand, and because we don't see anybody, we think that nobody sees the rest of our bodies. There's a genuine concern.
What's the concern?
The concern is the Ghanaian people have lost confidence in the judiciary.
Based on?
based on their own observations of what is happening within the judiciary.
But John Mahama,
and I'm saying that
primarily on the outcome of the Supreme Court judgment on the 20th.
No, and that's another fallacy.
But he references that.
I'm saying no. He
consistently references.
No, he says that in recent times. He didn't say that because he lost a Supreme Court case, that's why he's making those comments.
But he consistently references that each time he's speaking about this. He talks about 7-0. He talks about unanimous FC. That seemed to be the thing that...
No, but he's talking about what the people are saying. And I must say that Frank David got it wrong. 7-0 was not a creation of the NDC lawyers. 7-0 was from social media. It's not the NDC lawyers. So it is these things that he has seen, and he's saying that, is there the need for us to check these things and bring back the confidence that the people of this country used to have in the judiciary? How is this wrong?
Those are very sweeping comments that you somehow, because listen to the judges themselves. Yesterday, Jones Oche, a very senior member of the bench at the Supreme Court, he himself was expressing grave concern, drawing us back to 1992 and saying some of these political attacks on the judiciary could actually create the environment that will fuel people to, repeat those tragic events.
Day in, day out, we criticize doctors for their professional roles that they play. We criticize doctors for misconduct. Does that mean that we should go and kill them?
But there's a clear separation between criticism and
Exactly. So what we are talking about is that the judiciary is not above criticisms. And I disagree with Xavier who says that the former president should not criticize, but he should hire a lawyer who write his concerns in a law review.
He didn't say don't criticize. He says don't undermine his authority.
So nobody's doing that.
No, but he's mentioned an example that when you suggest, in fact, he didn't suggest, the president was very categorical, that the image has sunk in. However, the current leadership of the judiciary, in this case the Chief Justice, they are incapable of fixing it.
Why?
That is clearly undermining the authority of the Chief Justice.
Why?
And by extension, the judiciary.
Why? Day in, day out, we sit on television, say the president is not capable. He himself has been referred to as incompetent.
He's a political figure.
Wait.
They're equating the president to the Chief Justice.
I am saying that, yes, look, the president, the Chief Justice, the Speaker of Parliament are all employees of me and you. Do you know that or not?
Yeah, I mean,
we pay them. And we are the owners of the justice. You know that in Article 125, justice emanates from the people. The judges are only custodians. And if I give my laptop to you, and I'm saying that the way you are keeping it is not good, don't you need to step back and say, what am I doing? That the owner of this laptop is saying, keep my laptop well.
But this is
so what is wrong with that?
But this is a former president who is saying this, primarily because he lost in the Supreme Court.
No, I have told you that those comments were not prefixed or were not predicated on the Supreme Court case.
The facts on the ground from the 2020 elections, the former president has been very consistent since then in criticizing that judgment and using it as a basis to criticize the Supreme Court. Not only him, many in your party have done so.
Look, ordinary Ghanaians, the National Security Minister, did he also lose a case? Can the PA lose a case in court? Why is it that when people are genuinely showing concern about something which is happening within our country, it now becomes a no-go area for us? Look, I get my livelihood from the courts. There's no day that I will support anybody to attack judges. But it is also true that those who are there are not angels. There are some of them who, recently you heard about the Auditor General report on the purchase of vehicles. The whole country was up in arms. And I'm saying that when you point at those things, you are not saying that you don't want the judiciary to exist. Can we look at the concerns that are being raised and address them?
Okay, so but if you want that, as a lawyer, there are 4 more means to do this and get that attention done. You know this. That's what Xavier Kuji's point fundamentally is. That beyond making the complaints, you have people in Parliament, you are a lawyer yourself, you can trigger the channels of redress.
The Attorney General who went to Ho and used that platform to attack lawyers and attacked the political party didn't also know that there were channels that you could have used.
But as a leader of the bar, he was speaking at the conference of lawyers he leads as a leader of the bar. I mean, where else? He was making a point about his concern about unjustified attacks on the judiciary. You're saying that's not a forum for a leader of the bar to use?
So President Mahama was not speaking at a forum of lawyers. He was speaking to Makola women. And all of a sudden, he brought the legal matters. So, look, I want us all to understand that the judiciary is the last institution where people go to vindicate their rights. No institution or individual will want to see that institution scramble. But nonetheless, if there are some little things or issues that does not foster or engender confidence, let's point them out and let's talk about it.
Okay, I mean, let me bring back Xavier. So the NDC has this, I mean, obviously from everything, the former president, there's a clear grievance there that you hear. How do you deal with that grievance, for example, and reassure them?
I mean, the grievance of the perception that there's something wrong with the judiciary.
That grievance has been expressed. He's expressed it here. The former president has expressed it. Definitely, there's something there. Does it deserve attention? And what should be done about that?
Of course, as he rightly said, this is a human institution. The people, they are no angels and saints. But my concern is that the approach to me wasn't the best. That is all I'm saying. Because if a decision is unanimous, it doesn't make it wrong. Because I've said to you yesterday, Evans, on your program on radio, that my understanding of the former president's comment is not the fact that he was challenged or he was not happy with the outcome of the Supreme Court case, if that is what the concern is. If that is what his complaint is, or that is what triggered that comment by him. But rather, the fact that all the judges who belong to that panel that decided that case, decided that should be the decision. But the question is this. If they had said otherwise, that he had won, and the public was making the comment that unanimous 7, would he have made the same comment? I am not too sure he would have done that. I am not too sure he would have done that. In any case, my learned friend, Abraham, who is my friend too, knows that the law reports are replete with a lot of unanimous decisions, which we all use as precedents to support our cases in court. So for me, the fundamental thing is there evidence that supported the decision that was unanimous? If there was evidence to that effect, it shouldn't be an issue. Because if the three of us, you, myself, Abraham, are given a same assignment to do an independent analysis of the assignment, and we came to meet and we realized that we have arrived at the conclusion, would one of us change his position just because we think people will complain that we have all agreed on the same thing? I don't think so. That will even undermine our intelligence. I don't think so. So for me, if there are genuine concerns to be addressed, let's use appropriate channels, because this is our nation. It belongs to all of us. It doesn't matter where we come from, whether we are of political party A or belong to political party B. The concern is that let's use the appropriate channels to address
talking about appropriate channels, I mean, Abraham and, of course, many in this party, including the former leader of the bar, Marita Appiah-Opon, had raised the concern that the platform that the Deputy Attorney General used yesterday, that's your platform at the bar conference, was a wrong one. They accuse him of actually playing politics and attacking a political opponent, and that should not have happened. What's the GBA's view on this?
Well, in the first place, I'm wondering how we could have prevented him from reading his speech, because we don't vet speech before they are read. But Abraham and every lawyer knows that you can never have an annual conference of the bar, which is an annual gathering of lawyers, without the AG being invited to come and make a speech. So for me, it was an opportunity for him to address lawyers. But as to what he would say, we didn't have control over that, and we don't have control over that. And we will not have control over that in the future unless we want to actually vet his speech before it is read, and it's not going to be done. It's not done anywhere. So for me, well, they may disagree with the platform that he's used for that. But let me ask this question. Assuming he has said this at a different forum, would I have been okay with them? I am not sure it would have been okay. So the impression shouldn't be created that, or as if the bar had intentionally created the opportunity for him to make such comments. No, because as a official leader of the bar, his role is to address lawyers. As to what he would address them on, the bar doesn't have control over that.
So you don't care if your platform is used to insult anybody. I can also take charge of that platform one day and attack Akufo-Addo?
No, Abraham, I am not sure the word insult is appropriate. Because once you even started by asking Evans why did he use the word attack in his question. So if you think attack is not appropriate, I don't see how insult will be appropriate. For me, he expressed a concern. I didn't see it as an insult. I did not see it as an insult. I think your concern is the platform being used to address this particular issue.
And as the owner of that platform, don't you need to caution those who come there to use it inappropriately?
No, Abraham, that is why I began by saying that we do not vet speeches of people who come to address that. And he's the official leader, the attorney general, whether female or male, belonging to party A or party B, would always come and address lawyers at an annual conference. As to the contents of the address, we have no control over it.
Yeah, I mean, so let me bring Frank Davis into this. I mean, Frank,
I thought you were not going to call me again.
No, of course. I mean, I'm definitely going to bring you in.
Yeah, but they've been going on and on. I'm only about to go on and on.
No.
I'm
So there you have it. I mean, the NDC obviously insists that there's something amiss that needs some attention when it comes to people's confidence in the judiciary. Now, we go back in time, and we've seen in the 2013 case, for example, before the Supreme Court, that many in your ranks, some of them were cited for contempt, were hauled before the Supreme Court. Isn't this what politicians do in these matters, Mr. Davis? Is Mr. Davis still there with me? Okay, we'll get Mr. Davis back. But to the most substantive point, Mr. Maliba, I was drawing back to that. The politicians have this, I mean, I cite that 2013 example, but I even go back into your time too. We had the former national chairman of the NDC, who once upon a time, Mother Georgina Wood, said there are many ways of killing a cat in reference to the judiciary. So in history, we've seen this play out many times when, depending on how decisions go in the court, you have the political party either attacking the judges or questioning the judiciary or questioning their independence. This must stop. Isn't that what the Attorney General was fundamentally pointing at?
Yes, and so in that case, where the late Komnaje is the one you are referring to.
Yes.
The president, Professor Mills at the time, said something to him. If it is an attack, I will not be part of it. But if it's a criticism, like Jampo is saying now, look at Jampo.
Who is Jampo?
Professor Jampo of UG. Ghanaians are losing confidence in the judiciary. This was said in 13th April 2022.
Yeah, that's one man's view.
And I'm saying that if these views are being echoed, are you saying that as a former president and who intends to also lead the country again, he has no right to point at these?
Forgive me, I was asking Frank Davis, he's back on the line. Mr. Davis, I was going back in time and drawing on previous examples that both parties in the past, in our recent history, have this tendency of taking on, questioning the judiciary and attacking judges, depending on how cases go against them. We saw a similar thing in 2013, where many of your own in your party were hauled before the Supreme Court for contempt of court, for making similar disparaging remarks about the judiciary. Isn't that what the real problem is?
Evans, don't let's compare apples to oranges and bananas to carrots, please. Evans, what happened in 2013, the instances of contempt proceedings which took place in it, because they're entirely different from what is happening now. I mean, don't let us mix the two. I think it's great disservice if you try
sorry, when you say different, I mean, we are talking about the fundamental issue of politicians attacking the court. I mean, regardless of who is saying it, people were hauled, in high rank, general secretaries and co, were hauled before the courts.
Even the likes of John, may he rest in peace, Samir Uku and others who were hauled before the Supreme Court.
Yes.
They made, in my estimation, what they did were ad hominem attacks. Some of them attacked the very persons of the justices, but not the dispensation of justice. I mean, the two are different. Please, don't let us mix the two. I was involved in both petitions, so I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but both fundamentally
please,
are wrong.
Don't let us mix the two. They were ad hominem attacks on the persons of the justices.
But you don't
it
agree.
Didn't have to do with the administration of justice.
But you don't agree that whether it is the distinction you create or what Jomama may be doing now, both it's something that we should, as a society, do away with fundamentally.
Look here, Evans, you know me. I, for one, will not condone any attack on any judge, whether it's ad hominem, whether it has to do with the dispensation of justice, the delivery of judgments, nothing. I won't condone it. And in 2013, you realize that the lawyers, who otherwise should have come to the aid of our colleagues, if that's what you are referring to, we refrained because we did not support what happened. That is the difference. Indeed, even if what you are saying is true, but I disagree. We refrained. We took ourselves completely out because we did not support it. It is different from what we are hearing now. I'm sorry, but you listen to Amaliba closely. And if this is the kind of advice that my friend Amaliba, my very good friend Amaliba, if this is the kind of advice that maybe sometimes they give to the former president, then maybe he will be inclined to be speaking the same way he speaks about the judiciary every time. Because what Amaliba said, so simplistic. I mean, with the greatest of respect to him, that justice emanates from the people, so when the people are, why? Then let the people go and sit in the court. I mean, come on. When we are discussing very, very important matters concerning that, you are talking about justice emanating for the people, and when the people are, who told them that people have lost confidence in the judiciary? They are the only ones who are saying it. Who told them that people have lost confidence in the judiciary? I'm asking Amaliba. They are the only ones who are saying it.
Jampo is one of us.
And I made the point to you that that's one man's view.
That's one problem.
Sorry. Allow him to wrap up for me because of time. Yes.
Tell Amaliba that when he was speaking, I was very quiet.
No. It's kept quiet now. Please.
I was very quiet.
You are personalizing.
No, it's okay.
I was very quiet.
Let him make his point.
Just keep quiet.
Yes.
And not interrupt.
Mr. David, proceed the point. Allow him to make his point. He was quiet when you were speaking.
When you spoke, I was very quiet.
You mean you're disrupting his flow. Let him wrap up. Yes, Mr.
So let him leave me alone and let me talk.
Mr. Davis, please make your substantive point. You're making a point.
You know, who told them that Ghanaians had lost confidence in the judiciary? They are the only ones who are saying it. I mean, and you ask, what is the basis? What exactly is the basis? And if you make reference, I am not. You make reference to the election petition. Amaliba says no. So what is the basis? I can agree with Xavier. He has spoken excellently. And I think Amaliba should take useful lessons from what Xavier said. You see, when you disagree with the judgment of the court, you critique the judgment, which is different from lambasting the judges. When you critique a judgment, it is different from lambasting. And Amaliba knows the stark difference between critiquing a judgment and lambasting the justices of the court. The two are different. And that is exactly. I'm sorry, but that is exactly what former President Mahama is saying. And that is exactly what he is doing. He is running down the judiciary. Look here. Let me say this. And I apologize profusely to the person whose name I'm going to mention. But even the 7-member panel, the justices who sat on this election petition, one of them was appointed not by the MPP. Justice Yawapa was not appointed by the MPP. Justice Yawapa was appointed during the time of the NDC. Would Amaliba disagree with that too? Would Amaliba disagree with that too? Justice Yawapa was appointed by the NDC. But he was part of the unanimous FC. What does that speak of him? That because the MPP came into power, he has crossed carpet? I mean, come on, you see, don't let us do this to ourselves. I mean, don't let us do this to ourselves. We have only one profession as lawyers, and we have only one judiciary. So please don't let us do this to ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, Mr.
And you know, hello?
Yeah.
In all humility.
Very, very quickly, I need to wrap up.
Hello, I speak as a senior member of the bar. Don't let us do this to ourselves. And this platform, the NDC people are crying over that the Attorney General should have chosen another platform. Where else can the leader of the bar address his folk and his flock? If not at the bar conference, where? I ask Amaliba, where?
Mr. Davis,
excuse me, please.
Yeah, very briefly. I'm just wrapping up in a few seconds. I need to wrap up now.
Let me wrap up. I have this to say. Please. It will be remiss on my part.
No, very quickly, because I have 30 seconds.
Yes, if I don't say this, okay? Look, for whatever it takes, the Attorney General is the leader of the bar. And all lawyers should give him the needed respect that he deserves. I think it's unfortunate. Marietta Brew Apiopon is a very, very good friend of mine. Joyce Bauer is another very, very good friend of mine. I think the language they have used on the Attorney General is just unfortunate. Marietta, you are a former Attorney General. You are my friend if you are listening to me. You are a former Attorney General. And if you choose words like childish, immature, and lack of professionalism for your your current Attorney General, please, with all due respect to you, Marietta.
Yeah,
I think we should not use.
Frank, I'm grateful that you joined me, Xavier, as well. Amaliba, so something needs to give, right, because of your profession. For both sides of the political debate, what do you think must give?
Is the Attorney General who must rise above pettiness.
Okay.
Is the Attorney General...
I think you make that point. I'm looking now at going forward and trying to...
Yeah, going forward.
With this.
Who is the leader of the bar? Is the leader who must bring us together and forge some consensus for us to charter a path.
Do you think that GBA itself, as the president...
The GBA can facilitate,
okay, but
the backstop with the Attorney General. And what is this that the Marietta appear upon and then Joyce Bauer? Why? When Godfrey Dame used that platform to chastise the former president, that one was okay for him.
Okay, I'm grateful, Amaliba, for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your evening.